Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I got some disassembly and maintenance for you on this little guy. This is the Spyderco Knives UKPK, or UK Pocket Knife. Interesting piece, and I'm very curious to take one apart. I never actually have. Despite having a review of this guy on the channel, it's an old review, and I'm probably going to do a re-review, because why not, right? But anyways, I've never actually taken one of these guys down, and so I'm very curious to see how it sort of works in practice. First off, though, I want to thank my buddy Hawkwit, actually, for the beginning the long and circuitous path to my reviewing this knife. Well, re-reviewing, I suppose, re-owning, whatever. Hockey, actually, he's another gear review, although he has sort of stopped doing a knife review. He's another YouTuber, at the very least, and a very kind individual, and a little bit of thread locker on this, but nothing completely out of line here. Alrighty. There we go. So we've got all these screws popped loose right here. Anyways, Hockey ended up, he sent me as a gift, and, you know, with charitable intentions, but as a gift, a Spyderco Delica. And it was one of the Bento Box Shop M390 Delicas. And unfortunately, it was not a gem. It had substantial lock play, meaning vertical blade play on a back lock, which was not something I'm, particularly okay with. And I sent it back to Spyderco, hoping they'd be able to fix it up, because it's a cool thing. And they actually said, "I'm sorry, no, we don't have any more of those, so we can't fix it, so I guess you're gonna have to do something else." And well, ultimately, this is the something else I ended up doing. Gonna pop this guy loose there, and what we see here is that everything is sort of pretty straightforward in here. You've got one big chunk here that's held in place with the plastic nub here, and then the stop pin there. There are no washers on this guy, much like the native lightweight. And but anyways, so they said, hey, we'll give you, MSRP for that particular model to put towards any other thing in the store. And, this guy was the S110V UKPK, that is, was, the thing that seemed most appealing to me there, that I didn't either already own or, and so given that I like the UKPK a lot, as, the couple of times I've had it on the channel and a couple of times I've handled it, each time it's like, yeah, it's a good freaking knife. I figured this would be as good as a choice to pick up there. And so that's how this guy ended up on my table. I'm going to do a full re-review of it, and then I'll probably put it into the next charity auction sort of thing, in accordance with sort of, I think, what Hockey's, wishes are there. I'll ask him. He's fine, by the way. He's just not doing knife review. It's not like dramatic he's dead to me or anything like that. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and do a re-review, like I said. Now, because it's always interesting to me to take a look at something, years later, so to speak, after spending a lot more time with a lot more knives, and sort of seeing where I land. Now, this part could be the part that sucks. Let's be real here. I'm going to go ahead, and I'm using, by the way, Knife Pivot Lube, but if you're ever curious about any of the tools I'm using for my disassemblies, I'll go ahead and check out nickshabazz.com/tools. But anyways, this part could be the part that sucks. Because trying to get everything sort of into position here with this spring under tension might not be easy. In fact, it might be very, very painful. Depending on how much, I need to find the position at which the spring is under the least tension, and then just pry that spring into place here, such that I can drop this guy onto the pivot and get everything back under tension. This is always the problem anytime you take apart something that is a slip joint, is that it's difficult to get everything tensioned back up afterwards and get the blade back into position. There we go. So what I did there is I used this little spudger tool, and I'll kind of reconstruct that, because I didn't know that it was actually going to work until it worked, But I used this little spudger tool basically to grab right here, and then pull backwards, and then push the pivot into position here. What we can see is that actually it sure appears like the blade itself is touching in this area right here. Considering that's all plastic, it doesn't really harm anything for it. But it is something you keep in mind, I suppose. But now at this point in time, all I actually need to do is apply a little bit of lubrication right over here. And that will just allow things to move freely. I went ahead and I already applied some lubrication to the tang of the blade in the back there. Not only to help it get settled into place, but also just generally speaking, a good idea. And now I pop all of this in together. There we go. Now, I just need to re-screw some things back together again. Looks like I'm T8 throughout this, which is always a joy. Use some blue thread locker here. You know, slip joint disassemblies are frightening. There are times when I'll do them. There are times when I'll skip them. This was one of those where I figured I'd probably be able to work it out. But there have been some slip joints that have been touch and go, so to speak. So, you know, that's always something I would put at sort of a higher level of, I don't know, expertise. I don't want to claim expertise about a damn thing, but nevertheless, something along those lines. When it comes to knife disassembly, slip joint disassemblies tend to get ugly quickly. And when they get ugly, sometimes, you know, because sometimes makers will have specific jigs that help them tension things, and I don't have those, and so that makes it difficult. Okay. Go ahead and drop this in place. That said, honestly, this is a knife that you really shouldn't have to disassemble very often at all. There aren't washers. I'm sorry, well, there aren't washers. There aren't like bearings or anything like that. It's a pretty straightforward piece. And so for the most part, it should be sort of a one and done sort of affair. Okay, and it's actually worth noting that now that this guy is fully locked down, the blade is not touching that back spacer at all. That must have just been a things being a little out of alignment situation there. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is just go back through and retighten everything. Just make sure that I'm in position. I actually need to loosen the spine, the pivot a little bit, because right now it's a little over tight. No blade play. We're back to dead centered. That's good to go. That was actually a lot easier than I expected. I will take that every damn day of the week, and again, one more time on the Sunday. Very, very nice. Happy about that, and there you go. Hope this has been interesting to you, and that you have yourselves just an absolutely wonderful rest of your day, and hey, thanks again, Hockey. I'll make sure this guy does some good for the world, right? Have a good one, everybody. Bye now.